Tobin Tonight.
Tobin Tonight. Okay, I'll
The
let you do that part.
alliteration with the T's.
Okay.
Hey guys, this is 17 Memphis. I'm Felix.
I'm Chelsea.
And you're listening to Tobin Tonight.
Perfect. There you go. See?
Was that good?
How are you guys doing during COVID? How are you kind of maintaining sane? I'm guessing before this interview happened, there was a little bit of throwing plates. Lauren, no, I'm only kidding. How are you guys keeping sane?
We are constantly making music, which is a blessing. And, honestly, I feel like obviously COVID is awful and, you wish it wasn't happening. And I know everybody in the entertainment industry isn't getting to perform and do live shows and whatnot, but if you have a positive attitude, you make the best of it. And Felix and I are both very positive people, and we use our art, we create constantly, and we have some releases coming up. We just put out like a video for our last single, Bar on the Corner, and we just keep going. I mean, you just do the best you can with what you have.
It's also for us, I think for like a lot of other, I guess, creators who don't, I guess, necessarily have to go anywhere to create, life didn't change too much. I remember telling Chelsea, the only thing I really missed was Chipotle, and now we pretty much have that back.
Yeah, you can also get it delivered, so.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, it's obviously a unfortunate thing, but in the same breath, people, you can use it as I think a lot of people spend more time with themselves throughout the whole thing. It's kind of like a mirror, and I think there's positive with the negative, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
No, I kind of agree with you, because I feel like, Felix, that a little bit more introverted, I guess, like a little bit more the inside aspect of things. Now I could be wrong. This is the part where Felix goes, "This interview is over. I'm out of here. You totally labeled me wrong." But no, like when I'm doing podcasting, actually with COVID, you mentioned about good, the bad, trying to take a negative, turn it to a positive. I think that I never knew what Zoom was. I liked Skype. I'm a little bit old school. It's kind of like the MSN to Facebook. When you mention people about MSN, they're like, "Oh, good job, age yourself." I'm like, leave me alone. But yeah, so Zoom to me, I was always like, I'm not getting on Zoom. I don't need a reason to be on Zoom. And then my friend was like, we do meetings on Zoom. It's really good. And I was like, all right, like you persuaded me. That's simple. But for my podcast, it's usually mostly audio. But then when Zoom came and someone was like, try it, I was like, wait, you're telling me I can upload YouTube videos with actual video and people are okay with that? They're like, yeah. I was like, okay, let's try it. So yeah, that was my kind of COVID positive moment, but I'm usually mostly inside to begin with anyway. So like when people are complaining about not getting out, I can relate to it. Like I can, definitely feel a little bit anger or upset towards them, but someone could come into me tomorrow and be like, COVID's over. I'm like, all right. They're like, you gonna go outside? I'm like, no, I'm good. No. I'm good here. Good. Yeah. I'll eventually go out. Sure. It's not like, it's like the 5-minute COVID break where it's like, COVID's over for 5 minutes. Everyone do everything. It's like, oh my God, I got to go out there in 5 minutes. Otherwise I'm going to lose it. Like, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think a lot of people used maybe like partying or, just going out as maybe not a very good coping mechanism, and perhaps they lost that. And just situations like these that forces you to like face yourself a little bit more. And I think a lot of people have grown through it.
Yeah. And spend time with family too. I think it's been really positive for families to be together. Mom and dad aren't rushing off to work. The kids are, homeschooled, I guess. Well, not anymore. I think schools are opening up. But
just even being with your kid and not having them be at
more FaceTime with family,
and with your dogs.
Yeah,
there's another one
with our dogs. Yeah.
I feel like if you can convince a dog to FaceTime you and not be bored, it's like great. Like I feel like when people compare cats and dogs, and like the pros and cons of each. I feel like a FaceTime with a dog is like, hey, you're there, I'm here, let's do this, let's talk. And then the cat's like, there's no more food left around. Why isn't there food? it's like I'm only FaceTiming you because I'm hungry. This is literally what life is. So in my mind, a dog is like someone maybe 5 years to 8 years old, and a cat is like your teenager, where it's like, God, like
I'd say that's pretty accurate.
You have a good cat voice.
Yeah.
That's my cat voice. If anyone calls this household, and you know, if they're confused, I'm just like, this is Brian's cat. What do you want? They're like, Brian's cat, and I'm like, no, you're clearly not supposed to be in the job you are, because you were thinking a cat can talk. Okay, like, go, just take 5. But let's kind of get back into things here. How did you guys come up with the name 17 Memphis? Because I'm going to give you not an overly big jab, hopefully just a little bit of fun, but when you Google 17 Memphis, it's like 17 Memphis Grizzlies. I'm like, no, I don't want to watch 17 Memphis Grizzlies. I'm looking for 17 Memphis.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, that's a basketball team, isn't it?
I guess so.
Yeah. Maybe people want to watch exactly 17.
Exactly. That's what I feel like when someone looks up 17 Memphis, that won't be us. They're like, oh, that guy on 17 Memphis wrote this cool song. It's like, hey, that's not him.
Yeah, that's definitely not him.
Or maybe I'm just really good at basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, it either or. I mean, we'll test it out, Felix. When COVID's over, I want the Memphis Grizzlies to invite you down.
Do a one-on-one.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah. Well, to answer your question,
etymology of the name.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward. It's well, I guess we technically started it in 2016. Is that right?
Yeah, but we released our first song in 2017, and we knew we were releasing our first song in 2017, so that's the
17.
Yeah.
And then the Memphis was literally the geographical origin of
where we started.
Yeah, so we just put the two together, and
boom.
Above that, like aesthetically, we like how it sounds, and we like how it looks. It's just cool.
Yeah.
I think
it's much dumber.
To us.
It's just much dumber than you think it is.
Listen,
something good to us.
It's like it's a take on your own thing. Like, it has a history for you guys, and like, of course, when you create a fan base and they like listen to your music, and they'll understand it, which, you know, kind of ties in who actually are truly fans and then who just kind of jumps on the bandwagon.
Right.
Because there are bands out there here in like Canada, like I know we have like Mariana's Trench, Simple Plan, and they'll just say like, we came up with the name on the fly. And it's like, okay. Then you have other bands like Blink-182 that was Blink, I think, at first, but they were going to get sued. And the magical question everyone probably asks them is, what's with the 182? And they're just like, just a random number. I know there's more to it. They just don't want to talk about it. But
right, yeah. Well, that's part of Tom's, like UFO conspiracy.
Yeah.
He probably is like 182 UFO sightings.
Or one day.
Day. Yeah. But I mean, it's interesting. It's cool. I feel like when people get a trend, like that's what you guys should do. Is like, as a trend, is like, you know, when someone says, what is your it's like, was it like a daytime soap opera? They're like, you take your middle name and the street you live on. You should be like, okay, for all the 17 Memphis fans out there, I want you to take a number you like, the city you lived in, and that's your band name. And then like 5 years down the road, someone's like, well, actually 17 Memphis tweeted this out, and that's how we came up with our band name, man. I'd be like, and now you're on my podcast. Wow, I'm old.
These are nuggets. Yeah,
these are exactly. The other thing that I kind of want to mention too, because I know you mentioned the name 17 Memphis, but now that's where you originated from. But I believe, Chelsea, you're from Texas?
I am, yeah.
And,
born and raised, yeah.
And Felix, are you also from Texas, or where did you grow up from?
Connecticut.
Where
we're at right now.
Okay.
Yep.
So basically, how did you guys kind of meet and then take your journey to Memphis?
We met in LA. We had both individually living in LA. This might have been 14 or 15, or I don't know. When was it? Around that time.
2014, maybe?
Something like that. And then we it's funny, I never go to these things, but there was a what was it called?
Vegan beer fest.
Vegan beer fest, which is probably the last time I drank alcohol as well. In at the what was it, the Rose Bowl?
Yeah, the Rose Bowl in Pasadena.
Okay. Yeah.
And we had both, we were both going there. I mean, I never go to those kinds of events.
I had a friend who was meeting up with his group of friends, and then we were all together, and my friend was talking to Felix. I remember this, and she was like, "Chelsea, you have to talk to him. He's a producer." And she's like, "You have to sing for him." And I sang in his ear. And then a couple days later, we did a session, and we started doing music together, and we became fast friends, and we were friends for a good long while. And it naturally just turned into something much,
we just like,
deeper.
Yeah. And we both, we're like, all right, it's time to cut LA.
Yeah.
And we took a cross country road trip, just something I'd always wanted to do, kind of unbeknownst to me. I don't know if Chelsea wanted to do it or not.
I wanted to go to Texas, and that's kind of how
I feel like this is things that like should have been discussed prior to the actual road trip. I'm going on a road trip. You're coming whether you like it or not. It's like, okay, let's do this. I kind of want to make the joke there, because it's like when Chelsea said "sang in your ear." I mean, like, I'm hoping it was Sweet Harmonies and not like Corn or something where it's like, it's like, holy gosh, she got my attention.
I remember what I sang At Last by Etta James.
Oh, okay. Well, so, that is soothing. Like, I can just imagine someone saying, like, when you're thinking literal terms, like, go up and sing in his ear. It's like, okay, go right up in the ear and be like, and then they're like, oh, you got my attention, but now I have no eardrum.
It might have sounded like that because it was not a sober version of that.
It's kind of what our dog does now.
Yeah. So. It's funny because if you took that back, if you had it on recording, and it's like, when they do like flashbacks in like movies or TV shows, like to make fun of it, and it's like Chelsea's mind is like, at last, and then like in literal, it's like, well, Felix has this point of view, and it's like, at last, and it's like,
probably.
Yeah, it's like, what happened? Why are the two stories different?
It couldn't have been that bad because he hit me up to work, so it couldn't have been that bad.
Exactly. I'm sure there was nothing that came up to him like, I can sing too, and then just belched in his ear, and he's like, I think that girl doesn't sound as bad compared to what I did. But no, I mean, that's a great story. I mean, they're all kind of interesting tidbits of like, how bands form, how things work together. Felix, I kind of like this background with you as being the producer side. Now, I've read this, that you were always into producing. So it was like the singing side to you was kind of like maybe someday, maybe not. But when this kind of came together, I think even you said that it was like a coming out party. Like you were actually showing people your voice. And sometimes producers just like being behind the scenes. But clearly with, this group, you carry your own very well. And I'm not saying that in a mean way. I mean that like generally good compliment because, girl voice, some people like, oh, clearly country music. Oh, that's the producer. Okay, let's hear what he got. And then when you hear what you have, it's like, geez, that blends really well together.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, for me, I grew up like playing Bob Dylan songs and stuff, and I was always with the guitar and like singing, and if I wasn't singing, then I was just playing some instrument and trying to record, and that's closer to like my true self than Ableton producer guy is. Although now at this juncture in my life, I'm both, but I grew up on like the Grateful Dead and like Merle Haggard and just all these like, real music guys, and then at college in New York, just, man, I learned so much about like computers and making music with Ableton, and it's amazing. And it's amazing. It's just a blessing to be able to exist in both spheres. I feel very blessed.
So like I'm just interested from a standpoint, and again, feel free to like tell me, as I said off the hop, like, Brian, shut your mouth. But what made you kind of take on the producer role than the music role? Because I know for myself with interviews, I think I come across good. I think I come across fine. But then like there are times when someone will want me to step outside the comfort zone of doing like a serious interview, and I'm like, I can try, but it's like it's just not in my character. And that's not saying I can't, it's just that I'm more comfortable in this lane. So why did you feel more comfortable, I guess, as the producer than the musician?
I think I always feel comfortable with both because it's all just music, and that's it. Like I just like music. It's not meant to sound big-headed, but it doesn't matter to me what role I'm in. Almost like I could be a bass player in a band, and just it's the same for me. But you know, the producer thing came about because I went to NYU and it was a music program.
Okay.
And it was the Clive Davis School of Recorded Music, quote unquote, and there was like, you know, a lot of other talented artists and producers there, and that was kind of I've been recording before that point anyhow, so I was technically like in this producer headspace. And then when I went to NYU, I was like, man, like all these, I just wanted to work with everybody, you know, and that's and a producer can do that, you know, and they can make different types of music, and it was something I definitely wanted to do, and I ended up doing like a lot in LA, and it's just like an extension of who I am, I guess.
Okay. No, I like just the background. It's just like from someone like myself that's kind of interested in, you know, sometimes producers just like producing, and then there's a reason for that. And then sometimes the musical acts might become producers or just like doing music. So to see someone like yourself that got into producing role and then went to the music side, it's always like, and I don't mean that with like any negativity or anything. It's just like, oh, it's like, was something like holding him back? Was he nervous of doing it? Was there something like was there always someone in his ear going, you can't sing, don't sing, and you're like, I guess I can't sing, I will never try to sing?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that's totally I mean, for me, that wasn't my story at all. My story was like, let me spread my wings. And I never saw, you know, I never saw it before. Like I mean, just going to New York as like as an experience, you know, just like bursted my safety bubble of like where I grew up, you know, as college tends to do sometimes, where, you know, wherever you go to college. But no, everything for me is like I try to be as fearless as possible, you know, and it's all just like music at the end of the day, which I could go on forever with this shit. I'm just like, I could give you a 2-hour thing here, but I just think that music is like an egoless thing, but people put a lot of ego in it. And I think we're getting off the beaten path here. It's time for the next question.
No, like absolutely.
I'm like in philosophy mode.
No, I was just about to take out a notebook and be like, okay, philosophy 101. let's get
wrong podcast.
Yeah. Just as soon as you upload it, it's like Tobin Tonight has changed his name to Philosophy 101, and our guests tonight are Felix and Chelsea. Chelsea will be the assistant here. No, no, I listen. It's when you give me answers like that are like genuine. It gives me a little bit of background. Like I'm all for it. I'm not going to cut you off on it because you're giving me a genuine answer and telling me a little bit about it. But the next question I kind of want to ask for Chelsea is, Chelsea, like, who are some of your influences to kind of get in music? And was there anyone that either pushed you or kind of prevented you in a way? Like, what was kind of the obstacle you had to overcome
to get into music?
Yeah, like you know, because when you're younger, you always look up to somebody, right? So like in my case, I never look up to anyone. I'm always like, I'm taller than everyone, obviously. No, I looked up to like, say, Conan for late night television, like John Oliver for political stuff, Jon Stewart.
Right.
So like, who are some people that you looked up and said, I can do this someday?
Oh man. Well, I grew up doing musical theater, and that's like where I started. And I thought I wanted to be on Broadway. I went to college for musical theater, and I really wish I would have known that I could write songs and do music a lot sooner. That was kind of I always feel like I was a late bloomer, but everything happens how it's supposed to. And I mean, as far as my musical influences go, I mean, it's a wide range. I mean, you know, you could, I mean, Bernadette Peters to Idina Menzel to Etta James, Aretha Franklin. I actually grew up more on like a lot of soulful singers, and you know, and then you know, you've got Sheryl Crow and Jewel and all of the singer-songwriter country leaning. I mean, everything. I just wanted to sing, and that's kind of where it started. And then I started writing songs, and that was something kind of untapped within me that I discovered out of college. And boy, things kind of aligned. You know, I met Felix, and that was really the big turning point in my life too, because he was the first person to put me in a booth and record me. That was like my first experience with that. And he really, I mean, you've been a huge part of molding me as an artist. And yeah, so.
Helping.
Yes, helping.
I like that answer. I kind of like, though, like it's almost like therapy here in a way. It's just like looking right at him and be like, you helped me mold. You helped build. It's like I feel like at this point, if I had good editors that weren't me, it'd just be like, you raised me up, and then
Exactly.
Yeah, you just see like tears. You see tears coming out of both people's eyes. It's like, Brian, your podcast is supposed to be fun. Why are these people sad?
Why are they so sad?
Yeah,
no, I mean, it's very meaningful to me because I mean what I say. I mean, Felix really did influence me in you know, believing I could do the music thing. You know, it was a big deal when we met, and he changed my life. And obviously I've worked with a ton of other people who are also very talented and wonderful, but you know, as far as like really, you know, that intervening moment in shaping, you know, the direction of my life, Felix was a huge role in that. So
yeah, like you want someone that's going to kind of like push you, support you, but like, you know, support you, but in a way also like, okay, I think you can do this, but I'm believing that you can do this, so let's try it, right? Like, and then if you fall or fail, it's like, okay, but like, I'm not giving up support here, let's continue. Like, it's a setback.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I call my dog is my support. Like sometimes I'll talk to him and be like, I got this guest on tonight, and he'll be like wagging his tail, super happy. And there's other times I'm like, and then I did this, and then I talked about, and then he goes back to like licking himself, and I'm like, not interesting to you? Like this topic isn't interesting. And then he's like, he'll look back and be like, not a clue, man. I'll be like, you just talk to me? No. But
what kind of dog do you have?
I actually have, so it's like a Shih Tzu, and what's the other dog? Because they're like kind of my brother's dog that we just implemented because he's in Ottawa. So one of them is ours, and the other one is his. He just left it kind of here. That one's I think a little bit more pug, so he's a little bit of a bigger girl.
Aww.
But
yeah, pugs are beautiful.
Yeah.
It's funny because like sometimes you're just like, oh, I have this on the podcast, blah blah blah, and like you're like, I'm talking to a dog, like. What do I expect the dog to be like? That's great, Brian. Like, awesome. Continue on. Tell me more. Yeah, but I feel like at least a dog listens to me more than like we used to have a cat. We don't, but a cat would just be like, whatever. Like, just leave me alone. Like I'm trying to be nice to you, cats. But I like those answers. I like the idea of like, you know, being supportive, obviously. The other thing that you mentioned, which I liked in your answer, was a little bit more of the Sheryl Crow, way back with some of these references that I think kind of explains the soul side in the music. But I kind of want to mention this going off that was you mentioned about Sheryl Crow. Were you ever like a Spice Girls fan or a Backstreet?
Oh my
Boys
God,
person?
yeah. Oh,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, I listened to everything, anything I could get my hands on, anything I could sing. I mean, I was a huge Christina Aguilera fan, and obviously I loved Britney and Spice Girls and all of that, all of it. I loved pop music, and I still love pop music.
I feel like Felix's head is about to explode there. I'm looking at the face, and he's just like, it looks like he's like, I can't believe we're talking about these bands.
Yeah.
I'm probably just like transcending time and space.
That's a constant.
Something like that.
So like
Celine Dion. Sorry, I just thought of that.
I have to interject that I have a marked appreciation for those acts as well.
Yeah.
I'm not. I was just going through a bunch of old CDs that I had, and Aqua popped up.
Oh my God.
Love Aqua.
Aquarium. I think it's called Aquarium. Is that
Yeah.
the one? And
So good.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
And it's funny because, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you know, as much as I loved doing musical theater, I think I ended up exactly where I unconsciously saw myself in music. So, yeah, just tacking that on there.
No, that's fine.
Just expect all random shit.
Yeah.
I kind of like it's so random, but I like it because when you mentioned about Aqua there, it's like when I was a kid, I hated the song that's like, is it like Barbie Girl? I hate it.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh,
but it's marketable. But the one that used to scare the shit out of me was the one where like kind of Candyman, where they're kind of going around in space. And as a kid, I was like, this is terrifying. I'm not going to sleep tonight. And then when I watch it as an adult, I'm like, what are you scared of? Like, what are you doing? Like, you know, this is all green screen and effects, but as a kid, it doesn't come to your mind. You're like, oh my God, aliens are going to come and eat me because they're eating her in the video, blah, 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 or like, but whatever. And then I'm like,
I don't know. I still low-key feel like aliens are going to come and eat me when I go to bed.
See, that's the Tom DeLonge approach here. Tom DeLonge.
Yeah. I felt that way with Courage the Cowardly Dog. And there was some point where I was like maybe 18 or 20, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to rewatch some of this, and it probably won't be as scary, but it is. It still is scary when you're in. That's a scary show. Yeah. Courage is crazy.
It's crazy.
That was very scary to be showing kids.
Yeah. It's so good.
It's funny because when you're talking, and I know it's a little bit more off topic of the music side, but I do like this kind of topic as well, is when you're watching shows growing up as a kid. Like I remember watching like Ren and Stimpy, like, you know, Johnny Bravo, and like what's the name, like Pippi Longstocking, and like you're just a kid watching a show. You're like, great cartoons, but when you get older, you're like, wait, Pippi Longstocking is 10 years old, somehow has a house, lifting cows up over her head. What the fuck? Johnny Bravo is here hitting on, you know, his, I guess, sister's friends or like moms. I'm like, Johnny, get it together. Like, and Ren and Stimpy, I'm just like, who greenlights this at all? Pinky in the Brain, fine, but Ren and Stimpy seems like the adult Pinky in the Brain, where it's like, yeah. I'm like,
I feel like our cartoons were like more hardcore in a way. And then like SpongeBob kind of came and like I think softened everything up.
Yeah. Except
now we leave on cartoons for the dogs, and it's amazing how much like phone use and like fake YouTube and like the internet is like totally in every cartoon.
Yeah.
And,
they have to acknowledge it.
That's a whole different thing. But
no, I just like it because, like I said, when you're talking about growing up and watching cartoons, it's like, you know, we actually sat down and watched it. Now I have like a niece and nephew that will just go on YouTube and literally watch someone play with toys, and that's a YouTube channel. I'm sitting there going like just
like the
annoyed.
Unboxing and stuff.
Yeah, like we're gonna unbox a toy today, and I'm just still like, why are you watching an unboxing? But then they'll come back and like, again, this is your generation. Like there's smart mouths of like, you know, a 8-year-old, and I guess he's probably 6 or so, and they'll be like, well, why do you watch people game? I'm like, because this is an old video game that I used to play, and I want to see how they're doing it. And he's like, well, this is a toy that I want, and I want to see how they're gonna play with it. And I'm like, game, set, match, okay.
Yeah.
Not
It's like
going up.
checkmate. Yeah.
Yeah, checkmate. You got me. Now, the other thing I kind of want to talk about when you were mentioning about just the musical side of things and your music, it's very, very funny that when we were setting this up, I believe we tried to set it up maybe a few months ago or a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And thing just popped up. It happens. But when we were actually setting this one up for tonight, I was going through Instagram, and sometimes that's how you find people. Like you find just through Instagram sponsorships or posts. And I was like, okay, like I know who 17 Memphis is, did my research, like seen him before, actually kind of stumbled across on a YouTube. I was cleaning my room and listening to all these songs, and it's like recommended 17 Memphis. So I was like, whatever, just play it. And I was like, oh, cool. I like this. So when we were actually getting ready for this podcast, went on Instagram, updated a few past episodes, and you scroll down and it was like sponsored 17 Memphis. I was like, I'm ahead of you this time, Instagram. I already got him. I already got him. So stick it.
You beat the algorithm.
Yeah, you beat the algorithm.
Yeah. So are you guys aware of that kind of stuff? Like, do you have any say in this, or do when people invite you on for just say podcasts or interviews, do people give you that story of like, I stumbled across you? Do your marketing team get a little bit more kind of extra coin when someone comes to you and says, hey, I found you on Instagram, and then you tell them and you're like, you're doing a good job. Keep doing what you're doing.
No, I mean, we got one guy who runs like ads for us, who's just like a brilliant ads guy. But other than that, it's just us, and it's not my passion. I'm like a music guy. I'm not like an Instagram ads guy. I mean, Chelsea's better than I am with that stuff, but
I currently am not running any ads, so we're not responsible for that one.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
Every now and then we'll promote a post, but other than that, we have our marketing guy, but other than that, it's just us.
Well, no, like I was kind of pleasantly surprised because, like I said, when you come across a band like yourself, listen to a few tracks, and you're like, oh, I really enjoy these guys, and then you're like, okay, where's a lot more exposure? Like, I want to see ads, I want to see stuff so that you just get more than your, I guess, inside your own bubble. COVID pun intended, but like just outside, like especially listen, I'm from Newfoundland, so obviously it's working because who would imagine? But I wanted to see like kind of more ads. So as soon as I came across that on Instagram, I was like, okay, this is good. Like I'm actually going to interview an act that I'm going to expose to a few of my friends, whatever, they're going to enjoy it. But seeing these ads kind of help as well. So I think that was really cool because again, I stumbled across you from a YouTube song suggestion, and sometimes people are just like, no, I came here for this song. Don't recommend shit to me. But I was like, no, recommend whatever you want to me. I'm pretty open to this stuff. So I think the song, like the song they recommended was, I believe it's That Won't Be Us. And then, your first, I'll be honest, when I listened to it first, I was like, okay, this is a little bit country. And then next minute I started hearing a little bit of the pop sound, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of where we're headed with country pop. But I was like, great. I could imagine this on like a CMT countdown. I could imagine this on like countdowns at Much Music, or like, countdowns on, what's the guy's name? Like Carson Daly used to do it, or whatever, just countdowns in general. So I was like, yeah, it's good. It's not like YouTube recommended something where it's like some guy in his garage, like, I'm going to sing to you Blink-182. And I'm like, why did you find this? How did this end up on my feed? So no, I
feel like those, I mean, that's kind of the name of the game with those like content people, like even Spotify. It's like, they're just getting real good at recommending stuff, and beyond that, people do want to be told to a large extent what to listen to. So they've tapped into that for sure, and making a lot of money.
Well, the thing that I like, and I mean, I know our podcast is on Spotify, and again, I pull no punch or like hold back with nothing here, but it's like sometimes on Spotify, if I want to listen to a certain song, Spotify's like, you meant this song, right? I'm like, no, I clicked on like Matthew Good, this song. Why are you playing me something else that is Matthew Good, but not that song? It's like, same artist, right? Like, no big deal. I'm like, no, it is a big deal. Like, if I put on like Blink-182, Girl at the Rock Show, or you know, say Angels and Airwaves, and you're sending me somewhere completely different, I'm like, you're not doing your job, Spotify. You're not doing your job.
Yeah.
Like I can go to iTunes and YouTube, and they'll play the exact song I want. So what's up, Spotify? They're like, we want you to branch out, man. You're listening to the same songs over and over again. I'm like, all right, Spotify, you're like my dad or my mom of the internet world. We want you to branch out, Brian. I'm like, okay, Spotify, you got me. But yeah, no, I like it in the terms of, like you mentioned, it's good marketing, good way of promoting other music. But yeah,
good way of keeping you on the platform.
Good way of keeping you on the platform. I would just love it one day if someone like did an interview with me and was like, yeah, I was listening to this really good podcast and I came across yours. I'm like, so what does that mean? Does that mean that mine was garbage or what? It's like, no, I didn't say that. I'm like, well, sounds like you're going that way. But other than that, let's talk about, you mentioned about earlier about having a new song out. Let's get into that.
Okay.
What song were we talking about?
Yeah. Oh, the one we just released?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Bar in the Corner. That came out.
We have so many new songs.
Yeah,
we're just working on.
New song
we're like, which new song?
Yeah. We have a new song coming out soon, and then we just released Bar on the Corner. We just released a video for that where we, you know, teamed up with a bunch of musicians in Nashville who we love playing with, and everybody recorded themselves at home and we put it all together, and it was awesome. So very happy.
It's kind of how everybody already does it, except this time they videoed themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are just awesome. Andy Ellison in the video, Axel, Gideon Klein, Joe Dickey, just like awesome Nashville players.
Yeah.
They're really sick.
Yeah.
And they're on a lot of our songs, especially Andy.
Yeah.
Like whenever you hear pedal steel, that's him, because that might be the one stringed instrument I don't play is pedal steel, because it's just, you have to be like a warrior, you know, that has to be like your thing. You're gonna do pedal steel. But
you have to like come out of the womb and like your first words have to be pedal steel.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's like for most people, guitar is good enough, but then pedal steel, you got your feet and you got like your knees are involved in it, and it's a lot. But God bless Andy for that.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Because it sounds great.
Mm-hmm. It does.
So, and that's part of this project. That might be one of the things I love most about it, is that it does incorporate, you know, it could be done all in the box, just like all in Ableton, like some songs are, but for 90% of our music, you know, we have to incorporate other people, you know, just it's a truly hybrid, you know, computer / real world musical endeavor.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we got a lot of new stuff coming up. I mean, we got shooting videos. We got this week, we're going into the studio and shooting some live videos. We got some like official like Reboot and Happy. We're shooting more videos like that, where it's like an official music video kind of thing. So that's all on deck.
Do you, like, how would you kind of, for someone who maybe never heard of your music before, or never played it, or came across, say, an iTunes ad, Instagram ad, or never stumbled across any of your songs, like what kind of genre would you label yourself as? And I know that's kind of like a term that's a little bit out there now, because it's not, you know, there's pop country, there's alternative country, there's like all kinds of genres. I'm waiting for like pop emo, if there's ever such thing. So I'm sad and I know it, yeah. What kind of like, where would you kind of label your music?
I would say it's Ableton country.
Ableton country.
Because Ableton to me is a genre in and of itself. I know when a song is made in Ableton 99% of the time, because that's all it's just like its own thing. But it's I don't know. It's country. It's music, you know?
I mean, I think a long time ago we kind of decided that we were just going to call it country because there are so many different names for it. And it's really kind of just up to us, really, whatever we think we are. And I think we're country, you know, and that's it, you know.
I like
and
how you look like
people,
directly at him that time. Like, I think we're country. What do you think?
no. I think we both think that.
Well, we're entering a space in musical evolution where genres are becoming more and more arbitrary. They're not completely useless, but you know, it's awesome when people decide to step out of the box.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, when you look back in musical history, that's always been the most exciting points in musical history, is when somebody, you know.
Well, I think it's kind of, I think it's kind of interesting because, like I said, is when you look back at history, to me, someone like Garth Brooks is country, right? But like Tim McGraw is country, but like some people will be like, oh yeah, like those are your two top people in country music. But then some people argue like, no, Tim McGraw is country. Garth Brooks is like more rock and roll country. But it all depends on who you ask, what their interpretation of it is.
Yeah.
So, and then when you look at like, say, today's artists like Florida Georgia Line, you know, Thomas Rhett, sometimes it's like, okay, you're country, but when you add that kind of certain instruments into it, it becomes a little bit less country, a little bit more pop. And I've made the arguments for years that when people are like, well, Taylor Swift wasn't really country, she's like pop country. I'm like, hold on a minute. That's fine. You have your say, but we had Shania Twain. We had like, she was pop and country.
For sure.
So, you know, it's fair. I like when people kind of come together, like for example, Justin Timberlake and Chris Stapleton doing like a concert together. Like that's something that's mind-blowing. So imagine when you're a kid coming up with like your dream concert and someone's like, well, that act would never go with that act because they're in two different genres. You're like, oh yeah, 2020, bitch. It's like this thing's this thing, gonna make it. Yeah.
And it was like the Nelly Tim McGraw moment that happened. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that. And I was in a supermarket the other day. Casey Musgraves' High Horse, you know, came on. You got a 4 on the floor disco beat going through the whole thing. But you know, then you also have elements that make it country as well. So yeah.
And the other thing too, I think, you know, with all of our songs anyway, you know, you can bare bones on a guitar, it's a country song. So if you listen to us play acoustic, everything at its core is a country song.
I think country is one of those genres too, and I'm trying to think of like other ones, like maybe folk, or like I don't know, where people actually talk about what genre it is. Where like maybe pop music, people never talk about whether it's pop music.
It's just it's popular. That's it. Like
that's it. And I think rap, it's never like, oh well, that's not really trap music. That's not really rapping. You know, it's they're more open-minded, I would say. But country is getting there. You know, definitely getting there.
So like in saying that, like who would be some acts that you guys kind of would like to either team up with, collaborate with, or sometimes when you're listening to their music, you're like, oh, like we should maybe try some of this with us. Like not saying it's successful or not, but like you're just kind of inspired by what they do.
I think there's, well, first of all, there's nobody else I'd rather make music with than Chelsea.
We're not going for brownie points here, Felix.
It's true. And if I'm not making it with Chelsea, then I'll just make it by myself, because it's all just creativity. I don't know. I think, you know, people like spirit. I don't know. I mean, like, man, I've been going through a huge David Bowie kick. Obviously, Fleetwood Mac
would be my number one.
Yeah, it's very. Although, you know, don't want to be friends with Stevie Nicks. But probably not.
It'd be interesting.
I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of blues, like John Lee Hooker. Always a lot of Red Hot Chili Peppers. I don't know. You name some.
Yeah, well, Fleetwood Mac is like my number one. I love Pat Benatar.
Beach Boys.
Yeah, Beach Boys for sure.
Grateful Dead. Oh,
Jewel. I love Jewel. I still listen to Jewel. I don't know what it is about her
Jewel's
music,
tight,
but
yeah.
I have like a hardcore love for her and her songwriting
Salem.
and her voice. Yeah. Oh,
Salem just released a new song, which is pretty tight after like 10 years.
I haven't heard it. I'm trying to think. It's one of those questions when you're put on the spot, your brain goes
No,
blank.
not really.
Yeah, no, Felix throwing the shade there. No.
Yeah.
I got it. I got all of this.
Yeah, he's ready. I'm not ready.
Felix, see, this is what happened. The night before, Felix, like when Felix said, I got to step out for like 5 minutes, you're like, oh yeah, that's normal. And Felix was literally like, he's going to ask me these questions. I have to have these answers ready.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at Felix's hand there. I believe it's your left hand. It looks like you have so many watches on. It's like, it's like, what coast are we in? East Coast, West Coast?
It's like I have 5 watches for like 5
It's just one watch with the bracelet.
It's like
one watch.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we have like, those rubber bracelets and then like a leather one and
Oh, I've got rubber bracelets here too.
Yeah,
mine are like, so this one was for like a kid that we lost in Belleville, and then this one was for a teacher I lost, like both due to cancer. But I don't think I've taken them off since I'd say 2009 and 20. I want to say 14 or 15. So, yeah. But when I see it the whole time in the interview, I'm like, this guy doesn't have an iPhone. He's like, Chelsea, East Coast time.
This one's my calculator, and this one's for Instagram.
Yeah.
It is funny. I took all these off.
Yeah.
You could probably attest to this. I took them off because I was gonna like wash them thoroughly.
Yeah.
Even though I shower with them every day.
Yeah.
And I took them off and I tried to like exist for like 20 minutes. I was like, it feels like I don't have a hand anymore. It's like, it feels very naked. And I was like, I have to put them back on.
Well, it takes a while. Like I noticed, so for me, for example, when I go to play sports, I used to have like a sports band that would tell you about Sturge Weber, or like, I'm allergic to Dilantin. And it was a sports band. No one ever complained. And then I was like, I feel like I want to be a cool kid. So I went out and got like a bracelet, like a gold bracelet. And then I'd go to hockey or soccer and they're like, you can't wear that. And I used to end up always losing it. And then I'd go to the ref, like the next game, like, you fucking made me lose my bracelet. That was like, that's a part of me. And now my hand feels like naked. And he'd be like, I didn't tell you to lose your bracelet. I'm like, yeah, but you told me to take it off. You told me to take off my identity. So it got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to wear stuff that's meaningful. If it snaps, it snaps. I'll have a replacement. But I feel like as you get older, sometimes you don't want so much kind of shit or whatever, like tangled up in you. Like I used to have a chain. I don't wear a chain. I had bracelets. I don't wear them. But if it's meaningful, like these two obviously are meaningful, so I'll keep them. If they break, yeah, it's a little bit crushing, but like, geez, just go on like eBay, because I think I was the one who created the light blue one, so I can just make another one. And in the case of the child, like I can ask the parent, hey, do you have an extra one around? Like I broke one. If they don't, I've got plenty of other shit that they gave me because they thought it was nice to have. So I'm not going to be like, oh, the one thing, I don't have it anymore. Yeah. It's like, no, I have plenty. So relax.
I have to get to that point.
Yeah. But like, I guess to kind of bring it back into the podcast side of things, or the interview here, you're talking about the new music you had out, the kind of the song that you did the video for. Do you find now, like in the COVID world, it's hard to kind of market these things? Like, because I know earlier in COVID, a lot of the acts were like, well, there goes all our shows, there goes our revenue. And then the Instagram Live became a thing. And I think that's going to stick around for a while. I know they don't do it as much, but I think it's a cool concept because you actually see in real time people's comments, someone that you could have been buried 5 rows into your concert and like the way back, and you see their actual comment and be like, I've seen you guys perform when you were known as this band, blah, blah, blah. And it touches you because in a concert setting, they're probably yelling out from the top bleachers, blah, 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 blah. And you're just like, why is he yelling at me? What is he saying?
Yeah. I mean, I think we definitely love doing Instagram Lives. I know Spotify just started a new thing too, where now you can, I don't know how it works yet, but I think you can actually post your live stream on your Spotify page, which is cool. I think that will be really awesome in terms of connecting more with you know, fans and people who want to listen. I mean, like I said earlier, you know, you do the best with what you with what you have. And right now, as you know, all of us artists, you know, that's what we have, you know, is doing, you know, a live stream. So what was the question? I'm sitting here trying to answer the question.
No. It's just more or less, I guess what I was getting at, which you did kind of answer, was more or less like, you know, when the artists were doing kind of Instagram live. Okay, she's no longer here. Like, no, but like when artists were doing like the Instagram lives just to kind of promote their albums, and you know, because you don't have the revenue of concerts anymore. Like,
oh, right. Okay.
Right. Like, how do you guys kind of respond to that? Like, do you like the Instagram lives? Are you kind of bummed out that you're not getting the exposure when you do these concerts? Because essentially,
I think COVID for all industries. Well, okay, for probably most industries, you know, except for like Jeff Bezos, right? For most industries, COVID is somewhere between a time for ingenuity and just a holding pattern, just like a big pause button. And you know, it's gonna be both. You know, you're gonna have to innovate, and then you're also just gonna have to wait, like for live shows and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna, like, hopefully the spring, you know, hopefully have this thing licked somewhat, you know, and just some kind of, I don't know, vaccine or whatever they're coming up with. And but you know, I mean, you get, I think for us, we've gotten probably more just closer to to creating and the art of it all. And I mean, we were always close with that, but just now that's all you're left with, which is great.
Yeah, I also think, you know, there will be a renewed gratitude for playing live, because we haven't done it in so long that I'm sure that when we do it, it's going to feel like 10 times more amazing than it ever felt. So I think it's something to look forward to, and I think it's just, you got to stay positive.
That's going to do it for this episode of Tobin Tonight. Our thanks to Chelsea and Felix of 17 Memphis for coming on to the show. Remember, you can find past, present, and future episodes on TobinTonight.com, Spotify, and iTunes. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and leave a comment or two. For Tobin and myself, this is Jacob saying thank you for listening, and good night.